The old Victorian house creaked around me, each groan of the floorboards and rattle of the window panes sounding like screams in the darkness. Rain lashed against the glass. Wind howled down the chimney, and somewhere outside, something heavy and metallic clanged against the house. I hugged my knees to my chest, trying to make myself smaller in the vast darkness of my attic bedroom. My breath hitched as I heard footsteps on the landing outside my door, slow and heavy, and definitely not my dad's. The wind whipped my hair across my face, so I couldn't see properly. But for a moment, between flashes of lightning, I thought I saw a face in the glass. A pale, gaunt face with dark circles under its eyes and lips pulled back from its teeth in a silent scream. Then it was gone. He'd gone insane after his wife had died, and he'd cut off his own face in grief, only to die a horrible death soon after. I mean, how could you even find the face? And why would it be looking for me? But now that I'd seen it, I knew better than to dismiss the legend. Wind tore at my clothes and rain poured down my neck, soaking my shirt. But I didn't care. I just kept running. Maybe someone in town did. Mrs. Hathaway, the owner of the curiosity shop, maybe she'd know what to do. The further away I got from home, the less chance the faceless man had of reaching me. I had to do something before sunrise, or I'd die. Legend said that if you saw his face peering through your bedroom window at night, then you would die too, unless you could break the curse by finding his missing face and returning it to him before sunrise. I had to do this on my own. If I don't break the curse, I'll die. Whoever was up there was dragging their feet, moving closer with every step. She moved aside a chipped porcelain doll and pointed to a book on the shelf behind it. That book should have the answers you seek. Now go. You'll be needing it. Or so I told myself. I didn't dare turn the light on or make a sound. The bell above it chimed loudly. Mrs. Hathaway looked up from behind the counter. Her kind eyes crinkled at the corners. I ran all the way to the Blackwood Sanatorium, the building looming above me like a rotting carcass against the stormy sky. I pulled it open and began to read. The words were written in faded ink and seemed to shift and writhe like living things. According to the book, the faceless man hadn't actually cut his face off. It had simply fallen off due to his extreme emaciation. I knew I had to return the face to its rightful owner, but I didn't want to get any closer. I called out, "Is anyone there?" My voice sounded thin and reedy in the vast emptiness. His body had rejected his skin, much like a snake sheds its old skin, leaving him raw and vulnerable beneath it. The wind screamed around me, mimicking my fear. I stared at the skeletal figure emerging from the river bank, the moonlight glinting off its empty eye sockets. It was the faceless man. "What brings you in, love?" "You look as though you've seen a ghost," she said, smiling. I held out a hand, but he waved it away dismissively. He loomed over me, his expression twisted with hatred. "Your face will serve perfectly," he rasped, reaching out a finger. "You do not understand. That is not my face. You were mumbling in your sleep, but that's nothing new. Want some toast? It belongs to the man who betrayed me, who left me to die here all those years ago." I shook my head, confused. Maybe it was just a weird dream, a figment of my overactive imagination. But I couldn't help but wonder if the legends were true. What if the faceless man really was out there, lurking in the shadows, waiting for his revenge? They listened patiently until I was finished, and then they both started laughing. "Oh, Charlie, you silly goose," Mom said, patting my hand. "You were dreaming. You weren't actually in any danger. It is my enemy's face. The only thing I desire now is revenge." I returned the face to the riverbank, burying it beneath the roots of the willow tree. And as the first rays of sunlight touched the water, the faceless man vanished. I just sat there hugging my knees and waiting for whatever was outside to go away. Had it really been a dream? I got up and went to the window. The glass was fogged up, but I could just make out the faint outline of a face in the condensation. Then it disappeared. He hadn't known me from Adam, but he'd recognized me as another human being, a replacement vessel for his soul. Anything. I grabbed a fistful of his ragged hair and pulled. He roared in anger and pain, and I took my chance, clambering to my feet and snatching up the silver box. It was hidden at the place where the river bends, buried beneath the roots of the willow tree. I raised the box and brought it down hard on his head. I asked, surprised to find that I was still shaking. He staggered back, clutching his skull. "Fool," he hissed. "You cannot win." I set off immediately, the knowledge that I was one step ahead of the faceless man lending me speed. He'd tried to warn me by appearing at my window. The banks had been eroded, washing away the soil and revealing the skeleton of a man with empty sockets where his eyes should be. Was this the faceless man? Had I been too late? But when I'd ignored him, he'd become desperate and decided to take matters into his own hands. I peered through the window. The storm had come in fast and furious, catching me off guard. When I finished, she nodded slowly. "So you need to find the missing piece of the jigsaw, eh? Well, that won't be easy." I could hear the rain still lashing against the windows, but now the wind seemed to have died down. I waded in and pulled out a small, tarnished silver box. It was cold to the touch and felt unnaturally heavy. I opened it, my heart pounding. Inside, nestled on velvet, was a face. It wasn't a corpse, nor was it some kind of mask. It was a face that had once been flesh, but was now dead and dried, like the shriveled fruit that sometimes grows on fig trees. Lightning split the sky again, momentarily turning the room white and revealing my bedroom wall, except it wasn't my bedroom wall. "You're brave to face this alone, child, but you're also foolish. This is a dangerous quest you're undertaking." It was the window that I'd sworn was nailed shut. And standing on the other side of it was a ghastly figure with hollowed eyes and skin the color of bone. Its lips curled into a cruel smile, and it beckoned with a finger. I let out a shaky breath and turned away from the window. It was just my imagination. There was no one up here but me. I'd always believed it was just an old wives' tale, a scary story made up to keep kids from staying up past their bedtime. But it was real. The legend of the faceless man was real, and now he was here. When the footsteps finally moved on and silence fell once more, I let myself relax slightly. I screamed and threw myself away from the window. How was this possible? According to local lore, the faceless man had been a patient at the Blackwood Sanatorium, which used to stand on the hill overlooking our town. I'd always thought it was a load of rubbish. I raced downstairs. Mom was asleep on the couch, and Dad was out in the shed, probably fixing another engine. I couldn't wake either of them. I threw open the front door and stepped out into the storm. But where could I possibly find his face? I didn't know the first thing about curses or lore. I burst through the door and gasped. I need your help," I stammered, rushing to tell her what had happened. "How can I do it?" I asked frantically. "We don't have much time. It's almost midnight already." She looked me up and down, her eyes sharp. "I don't have a choice," I whispered, hating the tremor in my voice. "Very well, then," she sighed, pushing aside a curtain that hid a doorway at the back of the shop. "Follow me." We walked through the door and into a small, dark room lined with dusty shelves. I thanked her quickly and hurried back out into the storm. As I reached the door, I remembered the book. It dawned on me why he wanted me dead. The book also told me where I might find his lost face. But when I reached the riverbank, I found a terrible sight. Then I saw a glint of metal in the mud. I closed the box quickly, bile rising in my throat. Then I heard a voice, dry and crackling like autumn leaves. Who disturbed my rest? I spun around, knocking the box out of my hand. It landed on the ground with a dull thud. "I didn't mean to disturb you," I stammered. "I just wanted to give you back your face." He lunged and I screamed, scrambling back. I tripped over a root and fell flat on my back. His touch was ice cold, but I knew I had to do something. He lunged again, but this time I was ready. But I did win. I woke up later that morning in my own bed, sunlight streaming through my window. I rushed downstairs. Dad was in the kitchen making breakfast, and Mom was at the table reading the newspaper. "Did I wake you?" "No, love," Dad said, handing me a cup of tea. As I ate, I told them about my dream. I frowned. If it was just a dream, then why had it felt so real? Why had I seen the face in the glass?